Zhu Xi, a Chu Hsi, was of Song dynasty Confucian scholar who was the leading figure of the school of principle and the most influential rationalist, Neo-Confucian in China. His contributions to Chinese philosophy, including his assigning special significance to the Analects, the Mencius, the Great Learning, and the Doctrine of the Mean, his emphasis on the investigation of things, and the synthesis of all fundamental Confucian concepts, formed the basis of Chinese bureaucracy and government for over 700 years. He has been called the second most influential thinker in Chinese history, after Confucius himself. Life. Zhu Xi, whose family originated in Wuyuan County, Huizhou, was born in Fujian, where his father worked as the sub-prefectural sheriff. After his father was forced from office due to his opposition to the government appeasement policy towards the Jurchen in 1140, Zhu Xi received instruction from his father at home. Upon his father's death in 1143, he studied with his father's friends Hujian, Lu Zihui, and Lu Miangzhi. In 1148, at the age of 19, Zhu Xi passed the imperial examination and became a presented scholar. Zhu Xi's first official dispatch position was as sub-prefectural registrar of Dong'an, which he served from 1153 to 1156. From 1153, he began to study under Li Tong, who followed the Neo-Confucian tradition of Cheng Hao and Cheng Yi, and formally became his student in 1160. In 1179, after not serving in an official capacity since 1156, Zhu Xi was appointed prefect of Nankang Military District, where he revived White Deer Grotto Academy, and got demoted 3 years later for attacking the incompetency and corruption of some influential officials. There were several instances of receiving an appointment and subsequently being demoted. Upon dismissal from his last appointment, he was accused of numerous crimes and a petition was made for his execution, even though his teachings had been severely attacked by establishment figures. Almost 1,000 brave people attended his funeral. In 1208, 8 years after his death, Emperor Ningzong of Song rehabilitated Zhu Xi and honored him with the posthumous name of Wengong, meaning Venerable Gentleman of Culture. Around 1228, Emperor Lizong of Song honored him with the posthumous noble title Duke of Hui. In 1241, a memorial tablet to Zhu Xi was placed in the Confucian temple at Khufu, thereby elevating him to Confucian sainthood. Today, Zhu Xi is venerated as one of the 12 philosophers of Confucianism. Modern sinologists and Chinese often refer to him as Zhou Wenkang in lieu of his name. Zhu Xi's offspring held the title of Wujingboshi. In 1452, Wujingboshi was bestowed upon the offspring of Mengzi Mangzilwen 56th generation and Yan Hui Yanzi Hui 59th generation. The same was bestowed on the offspring of Zhou Dunyi Zhoumian 12th generation, the two Chang brothers, Zhou Xi Zhou Ting 9th generation. In 1456 to 1457, in 1539 the same was awarded to Zhang Can's offspring Zheng Zhisui 60th generation. In 1622 the offspring of Shangzai received the title, and in 1630 the offspring of Shao Yong. Teachings. The 4 books during the Song dynasty, Zhu Xi's teachings were considered to be unorthodox. Rather than focusing on the I Ching like other Neo-Confucians, he chose to emphasize the 4 books: the Great Learning, the Doctrine of the Mean, the Analects of Confucius, and the Mencius as the core curriculum for aspiring scholar officials. For all these classics he wrote extensive commentaries that were not widely recognized in his time. However, they later became accepted as the standard commentaries. The four books served as the basis of civil service examinations up until 1905, and education in the classics often began with Zhu Xi's commentaries as the cornerstone for understanding them. Vital force, principle, and the supreme ultimate. Zhu Xi maintained that all things are brought into being by the union of two universal aspects of reality: Qi, sometimes translated as vital force, and Li, sometimes translated as rational principle. The source and sum of Li is the Taiji, meaning the supreme ultimate. The source of Qi is not so clearly stated by Zhu Xi, leading some authorities to maintain that he was a metaphysical monist and others to maintain that he was a metaphysical dualist. According to Zhu Xi's theory, every physical object and every person has its Li and therefore has contact in its metaphysical core with the Taiji. What is referred to as the human soul, mind, or spirit is understood as the Taiji, or the supreme creative principle, as it works its way out in a person. Qi and Li operate together in mutual dependence. They are mutually aspective in all creatures in the universe. These two aspects are manifested in the creation of substantial entities. When their activity is waxing, that is the yang energy mode. When their activity is waning, that is the yin energy mode. The yang and yin phases constantly interact, each gaining and losing dominance over the other. In the process of the waxing and waning, the alternation of these fundamental vibrations, the so-called five elements, evolve. Zhu Xi argues that Li existed even before heaven and earth in terms of Li and Qi. Zhu Xi's system strongly resembles Buddhist ideas of Li and Qi, though Zhu Xi and his followers strongly argued that they were not copying Buddhist ideas. Instead, they held they were using concepts already present long before in the I Ching. Zhu Xi discussed how he saw the supreme ultimate concept to be compatible with principle of Taoism, but his concept of Taiji was different from the understanding of Tao in Daoism, where Taiji is a differentiating principle that results in the emergence of something new. Tao is still in silent, operating to reduce all things to equality and indistinguishability. He argued that there is a central harmony that is not static or empty but was dynamic, and that the supreme ultimate is itself in constant creative activity. Human nature. Zhu Xi considered the earlier Confucian Zhu Xi to be a heretic for departing from Mencius's idea of innate human goodness. Even if people displayed immoral behavior, the supreme regulative principle was good. The cause of immoral actions is Qi. Zhu Xi's metaphysics is that everything contains Li and Qi. Li is the principle that is in everything and governs the universe. Each person has a perfect Li. As such, individuals should act in perfect accordance with morality. However, while Li is the underlying structure, Qi is also part of everything. Qi obscures our perfect moral nature. The task of moral cultivation is to clear our Qi. If our Qi is clear and balanced, then we will act in a perfectly moral way. Heart, mind, clarity of mind and purity of heart are ideal in Confucian philosophy. In the following poem, Reflections While Reading 1, Zhu Xi illustrates this concept by comparing the mind to a mirror, left covered until needed, that simply reflects the world around it, staying clear by the flowing waters symbolizing the Tao. In Chinese, the mind was sometimes called the square inch, which is the literal translation of the term alluded to in the beginning of the poem. A small square pond and uncovered mirror where sunlight and clouds linger and leave. I asked how it stays so clear. It said spring water keeps flowing in knowledge and action. action. According to Zhu Xi's epistemology, knowledge and action were indivisible components of truly intelligent activity. Although he did distinguish between the priority of knowing, since intelligent action requires forethought, and the importance of action, as it produces a discernible effect, Zhu Xi said, knowledge and action always require each other. It is like a person who cannot walk without legs, although he has eyes, and who cannot see without eyes, although he has legs. With respect to order, knowledge comes first, and with respect to importance, action is more important. The investigation of things and the extension of knowledge. Zhu Xi advocated the investigation of things. How to investigate and what these things are is the source of much debate. To Zhu Xi, the things are moral principles, and the investigation involves paying attention to everything in both books and affairs, because moral principles are quite inexhaustible. Religion. Zhu Xi did not hold to traditional ideas of God or heaven, though he discussed how his own ideas mirrored the traditional concepts. He encouraged an agnostic tendency within Confucianism, because he believed that the supreme ultimate was a rational principle, and he discussed it as an intelligent and ordering will behind the universe. And Lt. C.W.T. Chan source book Zhu Xi, ch. 11, number 127, pg. 643 and gt. He did not promote the worship of spirits and offerings to images. Although he practiced some forms of ancestor worship, he disagreed that the souls of ancestors existed, believing instead that ancestor worship is a form of remembrance and gratitude. Meditation. Zhu Xi practiced a form of daily meditation called Jingzuo, similar to, but not the same as, Buddhist dharana or chanting. His meditation did not require the cessation of all thinking as in some forms of Buddhism. Rather, it was characterized by quiet introspection that helped to balance various aspects of one's personality and allowed for focused thought and concentration. His form of meditation was by nature Confucian in the sense that it was concerned with morality. His meditation attempted to reason and feel in harmony with the universe. He believed that this type of meditation brought humanity closer together and more into harmony. On teaching, learning, and the creation of an academy, Zhu Xi heavily focused his energy on teaching, claiming that learning is the only way to sagehood. He wished to make the pursuit of sagehood attainable to all men. He lamented more modern printing techniques and the proliferation of books that ensued. This, he believed, made students less appreciative and focused on books, simply because there were more books to read than before. Therefore, he attempted to redefine how students should learn and read. In fact, disappointed by local schools in China, he established his own academy, White Deer Grotto Academy, to instruct students properly and in the proper fashion. Taoist and Buddhist influence on Zhu Xi. Zhu Xi wrote what was to become the orthodox Confucian interpretation of a number of concepts in Taoism and Buddhism. While he appeared to have adopted some ideas from these competing systems of thought, unlike previous Neo-Confucians, he strictly abided by the Confucian doctrine of active moral cultivation. He found Buddhist principles to be darkening and diluting the original mind, as well as destroying human relations. Legacy. From 1313 to 1905, Zhu Xi's commentaries on the four books formed the basis of civil service examinations in China. His teachings were to dominate Neo-Confucians such as Wang Fuzi, though dissenters would later emerge such as Wang Yangming and the School of Mind 2.5 centuries later. His philosophy survived the intellectual revolution of 1917, and later Feng Yulan would interpret his conception of Li, Qi, and Taiji into a new metaphysical theory. He was also influential in Japan, known as Shoshigakus, and in Korea known as Jujurik, where it became an orthodoxy. Life magazine ranked Zhu Xi as the 45th most important person in the last millennium. Zhu Xi's offspring held the title of Wujingboshi, calligraphy. Zhu Xi had, from an early age, followed his father and a number of great calligraphers at the time in practicing calligraphy. At first he learned the style of Cao Cao, but later specialized in the regular script of Zhong Yao and the running cursive script of Yan Zheqing. Though his manuscripts left to the world are piecemeal and incomplete, and most of his works are lost. Moreover, his fame in the realm of philosophy was so great that even his brilliance in calligraphy was overshadowed. He was skillful in both running and cursive scripts, especially in large characters, but extant artworks consist mainly of short written notes in running script and rarely of large characters. His authentic manuscripts are collected by Nanjing Museum, Beijing Palace Museum, Liaoning Province Museum, Taipei Palace Museum and the National Museum of Tokyo, Japan. Some pieces are in private collections in China and overseas. The Thatched Hut hand scroll, one of Zhu Xi's masterpieces in running cursive script, is in an overseas private collection. Thatched Hut hand scroll contains 3 separate parts. Title: 102 characters by Zhu Xi in running cursive scripts. The postscripts by Wen Tianqiang of Song Dynasty, Fang Shaoru's Zhou Yunming, Tang Yin and Hai Rui of the Ming Dynasty. Calligraphy style. The calligraphy of Zhu Xi had been acclaimed as acquiring the style of the Han and Wei dynasties. He was skillful in the central tip, and his brushstrokes are smooth and round, steady yet flowing in the movements without any trace of frivolity and abruptness. Indeed, his calligraphy possesses stability and elegance in construction with a continuous flow of energy. Without trying to be pretentious or intentional, his written characters are well-balanced, natural and unconventional. As he was a patriarch of Confucianism philosophy, it is understandable that his learning permeated in all his writings with due respect for traditional standards. He maintained that while rules had to be observed for each word, there should be room for tolerance, multiplicity and naturalness. In other words, calligraphy had to observe rules and at the same time not be bound by them so as to express the quality of naturalness. It's small wonder that his calligraphy had been highly esteemed throughout the centuries by great personages as follows. Tao Changyi of Ming Dynasty. Whilst Master Zhou inherited the orthodox teaching and propagated it to the realm of sages, and yet he was also proficient in running and cursive scripts, especially in large characters. His execution of brush was well poised and elegant. However piecemeal or isolated his manuscripts, they were eagerly sought after and treasured. Wang Xiqing of Ming Dynasty. The brushstrokes in his calligraphy were swift without attempting at formality, yet none of his strokes and dots were not in conformity with the rules of calligraphy. Wen Tianqiang of Song Dynasty in his postscript for the Thatched Hut hand scroll by Zhu Xi, people in the olden days said that there was embedded the bones of laurel subject in the calligraphy of Yan Zheqing. Observing the execution of brushstrokes by Zhu Xi, I am indeed convinced of the truth of this opinion. Zhou Yunming of the Ming Dynasty in his postscript for the Thatched Hut hand scroll by Zhu Xi, Master Zhou was loyal, learned and a great scholar throughout ages. He was superb in calligraphy although he did not write much in his lifetime and hence they were rarely seen in later ages. This roll had been collected by Wang Sedi Ma for a long time and of late it appeared in the world. I chanced to see it once and whilst I regretted that I did not try to study it extensively until now, in the study room of my friend, I was so lucky to see it again. This showed that I am destined to see the manuscripts of Master Zhu. I therefore wrote this preface for my intention. Hai Rui of the Ming Dynasty in his postscript for the Thatched Hut hand scroll by Zhu Xi. The writings are enticing, delicate, elegant and outstanding. Truly such calligraphy piece is the wonder of nature.